Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. Thank you everybody for coming for our presentation today on doing safety reports in SharePoint. We'll begin. I'm Will Cooper. I am a solutions developer working with SharePoint and Microsoft 365, and I've been focused exclusively on that platform for the last 10 years. Just to tell you a little bit more about myself, I have a YouTube channel called SharePoint Smart, and I have instructional videos, tips, how-tos, just different things that you can do to do things awesome in SharePoint. So I hope you do check that out. And then additional to that, I have my own SharePoint platform, which is called SharePoint Dashboards. And in fact, I'm going to provide some information on that after our main presentation on safety reports, which is the focus today. To tell you a little bit about Infowise, we're all about making it simple and easy. All of our tools and everything that I'm showing you today, you can work with, and you don't have to be a developer. You can set these things up and make changes very easily just through simple configuration settings in our tool. Ultimate Forms is an add-in for SharePoint. This is a comprehensive toolkit, and this is available both for on-premise SharePoint and also for SharePoint Online. So regardless of which environment that you're using, everything that I'm demonstrating today, you can have set up in your environment. And we are going to do a drawing for a free embroidered Infowise shirt towards the end of the presentation, so please stick around for that. You do need to be in the United States to be eligible for this shirt. And as I mentioned, after we get through our safety reporting presentation, if you have time and interest, I'm going to present some additional information on SharePoint dashboards. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And I do have you guys on mute, but that's not because I don't want to hear from you. In fact, I very much do want to hear from you. And the way you should do that is to use the chat interface and go to webinar. So please post your questions there. If for any reason I don't get to it right away, please know that I will get to it a little later on. So make sure to give me good questions, and we'll try to help you out. Another thing I want to mention, we are recording the session, and I will post that later today on YouTube. And also, a really awesome thing, what I'm showing today will be loaded as a template in the Infowise site, and you can download and try this for free. So that's also going to be available later today. As I mentioned, Ultimate Forms is available both for Microsoft 365 or for on-premise SharePoint. This is how I think of out-of-the-box SharePoint. A little bit limited. This is perhaps an exaggeration, but the fact remains there's things that you will need and want to be able to get the functionality for tools like we're talking about today that just aren't going to be there with your out-of-the-box setup. And that's why you should consider adding in tools so that you can do the things that you want. And this is kind of how I think of Ultimate Forms. I think of it as a big toolkit that allows me to do all of the different things that I want to do. All right, let's focus in on our topic, safety reporting, and let's hit on some key concepts. This is often referred to as an EHS system, and that acronym is referring to environment, health, and safety. And for all organizations, we want to make sure that we do these things. We want to eliminate and reduce environmental impacts that would be negative for our workers. We, of course, want to ensure the long-term health of our employees as it relates to the tasks that they carry out for our organization. And then safety. We need to make sure our workers are kept safe from any dangers, and we eliminate or minimize risks as much as possible. So that's the concept behind an EHS system, environment, health, and safety. Safety compliance, of course, is a very important topic. There are different rules and regulations depending on the location. In the United States, that's OSHA. That was an organization established in 1970. And of course, US-based businesses organizations know a lot about that. In fact, I expect many people on the call know a great deal more about these rules and regulations than I do, but I'm sure we can all collectively agree that we have to have a system in place to address these key issues. There are other organizations in other countries. We won't delve into that, but this compliance is important no matter where you are. Neglecting these responsibilities is a major problem. So in your organization, if there are some gaps, if perhaps you're not handling this or not handling it as well as you should, this is something you certainly want to be proactive about. So a really important and necessary point of emphasis for any organization. The benefits of having a system like I'm going to demonstrate today, this should be a simple place that all of the workers can access in order to report incidents. We want to facilitate easy-to-use dashboards that convey key information about anything taking place. Of course, we want to track follow-up steps, so corrective actions that are going to take place in response to an incident or concern. And then we want to support our workforce. We want to have a positive culture, and we want to have everybody on the same page in terms of emphasizing healthy and safety for the whole team. And then, of course, we want to be able to have reporting tools to measure out on this progress and results. So those are some benefits that we want. All right, so we're going to get out of my boring PowerPoint deck, and we're going to get right to the good stuff. And we're going to take a look at this example solution. I'm in SharePoint Online, and we're going to take a look at the solution first from a user perspective, and then afterwards I'm going to go through and talk to you about how our tools work and how you're able to configure this setup and control it to work exactly how you want in your organization. So this is just the dashboard of my site. I've got some quick links buttons to take me where I want to go. And we're just going to go right to that reports list. And you can already see I've got a dashboard here, and there's some things that are going to jump out at you. So this is showing key information about incidents that have taken place in my safety report site. And I have a status indicator showing the status of that report, severity, meaning high, medium, or low. We have impact, either negative or positive. So one thing this tool is going to allow is for people to recognize something we're doing right. So maybe it doesn't have to be all about bad things that have taken place. You want to encourage workers to recognize something good that's happening that should be encouraged. Naturally, pictures are going to be important. If there's been a problem or something needs to be addressed, that visual information is key. You can see some thumbnail images, and when I hover over those, I get this nice shadow box to let me see that in a little bit more detail. And in fact, if I want to, I can actually click onto that image, and it's going to pop it open in a new window. So a really nice way to easily convey, oh yeah, this was the thing that took place on the warehouse floor in the back. I can just tell right from the dashboard what's going on. Additionally, I've got a link for corrective actions, and you'll see that this is a major part of the tool. If I click for that, you're going to see I have multiple corrective actions tied to this individual incident report, and you can see the status on each of those, and those are color-coded. And then one last thing, I've got a indicator, a progress bar right here for actions progress that helps me to see of all of the corrective actions that have been assigned related to this, how many of those have been completed and how many are outstanding. So this tells me that 25%, in this case, 1 of 4 are complete. It helps me to know how far along are we in terms of getting everything done in regard to that particular incident. All right, let's go to the form. I'm going to, of course, report a new incident, and we'll talk about what's happening in the form as I fill in this information. All right, let me just do one thing. I want to get something ready to go. I've got some pictures I want to load. All right, notice it auto-filled my name. So ease of use and streamlining is important. So of course, in most cases, it's the person who's filling out the form. I could get rid of that and remove it, but I didn't even have to fill in my name. Okay, then I've got a description, basically what happened. I'm going to get a little silly with this, not to say that safety isn't serious, but let's have some fun. Okay, the ladder fell down in the break room. Okay, and then as I mentioned, we've got negative and positive impact. Of course, in most situations, that's going to be negative. And then instructions are really important. This is what I call baked-in instructions. Rather than having your workers have to go off to some separate PDF or something like that explaining the information, I can hover over this information bubble, and of course, I can customize whatever specific instructions I want. So I'm sure that you've experienced this. You're dealing with all kinds of different people, and without that instruction, they may get confused or give you bad information. So having that in context, real-time information to provide instructions is going to be really important. So this helps them to understand what is severity, high, medium, and low. How does that very specifically define? All right, we'll say this was medium severity. Then I've got some categories. Of course, these are just ones that I picked. You can add whatever categories you want. Very easy to change that. And then I've got a status, and this indicates the progress of the report as I'm going through this process. So by default, it starts reported, but after working on things, we update that status as we go through. And of course, ultimately, we want this to be complete. All right, so we want to know, when did this take place? We'll say it took place yesterday, and then also the specific time. So we're going to say this was at 4:30 in the afternoon yesterday. That's required. Then it wants me to say, where did it take place? This was in the back of the break room next to the soda machine. Okay, and then I've got these photo boxes, okay? Ease of use, really important, right? This is cool because I can drag and drop from my computer. And something also that I really like is this form and everything I'm showing you in the system is set up to work well in a responsive design type situation. So if I go to like a phone style display, you'll see what that looks like. So you can, if you're using your phone, it will use the camera app. So I could be there in the break room filling out this form right when this happened, and I could tap this, and on the phone, it'll take me to the camera app. I could snap a shot and just load it directly there. So that's a really cool way that these things can be handled. So it will work well for you, and both if you got your phone there reporting the incident at the location, or if you're sitting back at your computer. Either one's fine. All right, so let me drag a picture in here. I've got some arbitrary pictures, so this isn't going to look like the break room, but you'll get the idea. All right, and let me find one other one. Okay, now I just put photo 1, 2, 3. You could have more photo slots if you want. I was just thinking about common situations. Okay, and then it wants the specific details. Obviously, in the interest of time, I'm not going to put a lot of information in here, but this is where we want all that detailed, granular information about what's going on. All right, let me do a little copy-paste magic. And of course, that can expand and accordion out. It's a rich text editor, so they can format that and do the things that you'd expect to be able to do. Let's go ahead and save that information, then I'll reopen the form, and then we'll start to talk about corrective actions and additional things. Additional to that, if there's something else I want to attach to this, additional pictures, we've got the attachments also. So that's really just to enable flexibility and allow for different situations that might come up. Okay, so it automatically assigns the report ID. These are just alphabetical. So this is the one I just did. The ladder fell down. Okay, so it assigns a unique identifier, which would be a nice reference point for us in the future. And then you can see all the things that I put in there. There's the pictures I loaded of the incident. And then right now I don't have any corrective actions yet, but we'll go ahead and do that in the next step. It was a medium severity. Obviously, that's very easy to understand based on the dashboard. So now I can just click this edit button and go back in and take next steps. All right, so I'm back in here, and now let's talk about corrective actions. Okay, so something happened and it's been reported, and follow-up steps need to take place to deal with that issue or make changes, whatever is the case, but any follow-up actions would be under this corrective actions thing. This is what you may refer to as a many-to-one relationship or a repeating table, and I can create and add as many of these as I want. All right, so I'll assign this to me, and then notice I set the due date to automatically be set to a week from today. That can be overridden, but again, it's kind of like an ease of use thing. By default, our status is going to come with not started, but once that eventually gets updated, we'll have in progress, canceled, complete, that kind of thing. I'll say examine break room floor. Okay, and then I can put detailed information in here. I could do attachments on this item for the corrective action if I wanted to, just like that. Okay, so that's not started. Let's put one more in here just to show you the repeating table. All right, so I'll make this one assigned to someone else. And let's just say this one already got done so we can indicate the progress bar a little bit. Interview injured employee. Okay, so it's just a general concept. I can use these for all kinds of different things. And now I've got a summary of corrective actions related to this incident report. Notice at the bottom, it's automatically calculating how many items were complete and how many total. So 1 out of 2 of the corrective actions are done. The reporter manager, this is for the end of the process. Notice I've got some more baked in instructions. This tells people the process and what to do. It says, all right, once all the corrective actions have been completed, the manager, the person reporting the incident should review, and their information goes in there. I'll just put my stuff in for the interest of time, and then they can go in here and do a signature in the bottom when they're ready. So that would be the very tail end of the process. Okay, so normally I wouldn't sign off until everything's done, but I just wanted to show you the signature field and how that works. Okay, so here's mine at the bottom, and there's the progress indicator, actions progress. You can see I had 1 and 2, but you can imagine how that bar changes. Obviously, once that's 100% and all the actions are done, then we're good to go. And once again, there's that summary of the follow-up tasks and things like that. Okay, so that's the user experience. That's how they work with the system. Very simple, easy to understand, simple steps. They would just come to the system, and from the home page, all they have to do is click this new report button, and it'll take them right to the form, and they can fill out the report. Now, of course, we want to be able to do things like some summary reporting and charting, things like that. That's always going to be an important need. And we have a charting page set up. This is dynamic. It updates automatically according to whatever our current status is on tickets. So we can track whatever we want. I've got a pie chart set up to track the number of incident reports based on their current status. So in this case, I've got 4 that are in a reported status, One's approved, one's on hold, and two are in progress. So that's what the pie chart's got for me. And then I'm interested in the categories also. So this tells me, all right, I had one lost time incident, 3 first aid incidents, etc. These are dynamic. The scale and everything changes according to your request. But the key part about it is I get that key visual information. I don't have to do anything manually to refresh those charts. They're automatically plugged into that dynamic data. All right, so that's helping you see what's here from a user perspective. And I understand and appreciate for any organization, there's always specific custom requirements that you have and things that you need to do in the form. And that's really what I want to emphasize in the next part. What I'm presenting to you is not a finished solution which you would implement with no changes. Most certainly, you're going to have your own unique requirements. This is showing you a proof of concept, which you can easily adapt and add to or modify to make it match up with exactly what you want to do. So let's go back to the reports. And with our tools installed, you will have access to the main Ultimate Forms settings screen. This is the main menu. There's a lot here. We're going to focus on key aspects to it. Like I said, if you remember from the deck I showed earlier, it's like a giant toolbox. There's all kinds of different possibilities. What's great, though, is you can get started with it really fast by just focusing on key aspects. So we're going to look at Form Designer. Form Designer is awesome. It's a drag and drop style interface. You'll notice as I show you different features of this, there's no code. I didn't have to do any programming or anything to get this set up, not even CSS or anything like that. So what I'm able to do, I can do things like drag fields out onto the form. I can move things around. I can reorder things if I want to, stuff like that. But what you see is what you get. Okay, and then here's that hover help thing that you saw earlier. This was just done using a rich text editor. I just went in here and used these tools and typed in what I want, and I toggled a couple buttons to say, hey, show me this description as a pop-up, and then make it show on the hover. That's all I had to do is click those buttons to get what I wanted. And then I can go through here and do things like set up containers, and I can set how many columns. I knew I wanted to get 3 photos here. I could make it do like that, stacked, or I just set it to 3. It's just a very fluid interface. When I apply these settings, I don't have to guess about how it's going to look or what's going on. I can just adjust these settings and instantly see exactly what's going to happen. Maybe the HR manager comes to me and says, I can't stand that green, will you please change it? And all I have to do is go in here and pick a different color swatch, say no problem. How about light blue? Sure, that sounds good. Okay, save. Immediately I've changed the look of the form. And then I've got the repeating table here for corrective actions and the roll-up totals. Here's the fragment control I mentioned. It's just another visual editor tool. I can adjust the font size. I can adjust how that looks, have it in different colors, all that kind of stuff. Just simple, familiar, easy to understand concepts. There, now it's blue. And then I've got my other fields in the form. This is all drag and drop style controls. And that's all you have to do for Form Designer. One thing you're able to do is make it dynamic. You can set roles according to the user. So there may be a sensitive area for notes. Maybe it's for the safety officer or the person doing compliance. I can add another section of this form. And using form rules, I can do things like set permissions. And according to the user group you're in, I can security control that information to either make it read-only or hide that. So you can really make the form serve a different purpose depending on your role in the organization. Then I've got some summary information at the top. This is just reporting the ID number of the incident. Yes, I will lose my changes. Now, when you go to get this later after you install our software, what you're going to do is go to our Install Business Solutions menu. And once you get into there, you're going to see a couple tabs. You want to go to the webinars. right now you can see this time tracking solution. That's the last one I did in February. Later today, you'll see this solution shown as the first tile. And you can just click on that, and everything I just showed you, you can download and install on your own site. So really simple and easy to do. All right, let's talk a little bit about next steps, and then we'll address some questions. The very most important thing that you can do after this is to go ahead and set up the free trial. Because I can tell you this stuff is great, but you really need to experience it for yourself. Luckily, that's really easy to do. On the Infowise home screen, just click on the Try Now for free. It'll walk you through the steps. You can go ahead and do the install. There is also an option if you just want to register and get a trial site on our tenant. That's also a possibility, but it's much better if you just install it in your own environment. That way you're further along if you want to get the tools. You do need to do this first before you can download the template that I mentioned. So you got to get this stuff set up. If you have any issues, of course, you can reach out to us and we'll lend a hand, but that's going to be very important. And then there are lots of resources here. So you've got tutorials and technical information to help you do practice. We have documentation on how to use all the different tools, and then we have training information as well. In fact, we have a free training video you can watch after you've done the install called Kickstart Training. That's something you can check out. So those are the most important first key steps. All right, so what I want to do now, I want to go to some questions, and then we're going to do a drawing for a free shirt. We'll do that real fast, and then we can move on to the next thing. So let me go to the questions now. Okay, there is a question about recording. Yes, we're going to post that to our website. You'll be able to find that later today under Resources Webinars. That will be available today. Can it be designed except 1 to 2 minute videos? You could just upload videos to the attachment. So if you have a quick video that somebody's recorded, they can just download that video file and use the attachments, and that would work fine. Notifications, great question. I didn't cover that in my presentation, but that's actually one of the most awesome features of Ultimate Forms. That's done through our email alert system. This allows you to define trigger rules based on certain conditions. I'll just show you that real quick. Basically, you define a rule and a trigger condition, and then your recipients, and you compare that up with the content template, which is just what's going to be in the email, and that information will go out automatically. Very simple and easy to use, and yes, you can auto-generate notifications based on whatever conditions you have. So a very typical one would be obviously when the report's first submitted, and then also when the status changes and things like that. So great question. And yes, that would be a very important part of the system we're talking about today. All right, let's see what else we got. There's a question about the table and form designer. David, that is what's referred to as the associated items field. So what you do is you create 2 SharePoint lists, and then in our tools, what you're able to do is add this field called associated items. So I can't walk through the steps in detail, but if you watch the Kickstart training, it does explain how to do that. Okay, there's a question about the hover images from John. That's what I'm going to cover in the next part of my presentation, which is going to be about SharePoint Dashboards. So good question, and I definitely will show you that. Same on the progress cycle. That's also one of those. So that's a good segue into what I'm doing. But before I'm going to do that, let's go ahead and do a drawing for a shirt. So for those of you guys in the United States, I'm looking for number 1 to 100. And I'll give you about 15 seconds, and I'm going to pick a winner, and you will get mailed a Infowise embroidered shirt. So just put those in the questions interface, and I will pick a winner here as soon as I can. Okay, you guys have about 10 seconds. I'm going to pick the winner, and then we'll move on to the next part. All right, we've got a winner, Bill Foster, who is North Carolina. I'll get you your shirt. You're the winner for our drawing for this time. Congratulations. All right, and now we're going to move on to some other information. There were some questions about the indicators and things like that. We're going to talk about that. But before I do, I just want to give some last information on Ultimate Forms and Infowise. In our site, we're happy to talk to you face to face. So I know that can be important since we're not able to do that during our presentation today. You can do the request to demo, and we're happy to set up a web meeting with you and talk to you about your individual needs. Maybe you have some specific needs for the system you want to set up. So please take advantage of that. And then we already talked about installing the trial software is the most important thing you can do. You can reach out directly if you have questions. And my email, if you want it, you can contact me directly, is willc@infowisesolutions.com, WILLC@infowisesolutions.com. All right, so that kind of covers our safety presentation. And now we're going to talk about SharePoint Dashboards. So some of the things that I showed today came out of this tool. SharePoint Dashboards is an additional tool that you can use, especially for SharePoint Online, to visualize data and have indicators and charting and things like that in SharePoint Online. And this tool is very easy to work with, like Ultimate Forms. So when you come to this site, it's just go to SharePointDashboards.com, click on the big green Get Started button, and you'll come to this view. This is the templates gallery, and you can browse through these tiles, which will help you understand what's possible to set up in your SharePoint environment. These give you a visual preview of different things you can make. And as I scroll through here, you'll notice a couple of things that you saw in our presentation that were set up and added to that template. One is the radial gauge. And then another one was that hover image for photo. There's a question about Power BI. So this is an alternative to Power BI. Power BI is very developer oriented and it's very expensive and also pretty generally complicated. Of course, that is another platform to do charting and dashboards. This would be an alternative to that if you're interested in a solution where you don't need to spend thousands of dollars per year for your organization to get some of this. Another one was the image shadow box. So that's another thing you can take a look at. I'm going to go into the tool a little bit and show you a little bit how this works. And we'll do that by first starting with the radial gauge. Before I move on, I just want to mention, like Ultimate Forms, you can sign up for free to try this out. In fact, there are 20 templates here that you can get permanently, and you don't have to purchase anything. And if you like those, then you could go on and upgrade to get a license to be able to use all of these templates. All right, so, and also if you want, you can set up a call if you click on the request a demo. That would be fine too. Okay, let me show you how it works. That's what I want to get to. All right, so each template has a window like this. I'll explain the interface a little bit and how it works. Let me switch over and log in so I can show you with the code. Okay, so initially you get a preview, and that shows you what it's going to do before you even get into it. And then I have a live preview that lets me do things like make subtle tweaks to the colors. I can pick different themes however I want, and all of this is very configurable. So just like forms, what you see is what you get. So I can make little tweaks, and if you're watching, you'll see that that's changing as I make these adjustments. I can pick different color swatches until it looks exactly how I want. Right now I've got inline edit mode turned on. I'm going to uncheck that box. And then right now these are all orange, but I could have that change colors depending on how full that progress is. In the lower left, you see a guide which explains how this works. It tells you what you need in SharePoint. In this case, it says you need a number field with values 0 to 100, and then it gives you a little bit more explanation. Once I have that looking however I want, I just hit the copy button, and I can go over to SharePoint, and we go to format the column. Okay, so this one, I just go to column settings, format the column. Now you see a bunch of code, but you'll never have to write any code at all. All you ever have to do is copy and paste. So I'm going to replace that with this, and you'll see it updates real time, and now that looks just like the indicator that you were looking at on the other screen. Okay? The photo hover box, that's also coming from there, as you know, the severity thing. And then the edit button, that's one of the free ones that you can use right away. But basically what you do is you just come into this tool and you can choose whichever option you want to use. In fact, the edit button is probably the one I use more often than anything, just because I use it just about all my forms. And you can make it look however you want. And I can pick from those preset themes, or I can tweak it. I can, do things like change the font size. I can decide whether I want a little shadow underneath of it. Whatever. I can even change the icon here. There's all kinds of different icons you can pick. Maybe I like this arrow instead. Let's go ahead and change that over just to show you how that looks. And every time I make these adjustments, it changes real time. So I know exactly what it's going to do before I ever get back over into SharePoint. Let me change the font size back down again. Okay, and then all I have to do, I hit the copy button, and then I can switch back over into SharePoint. I go to the column settings, and I just paste it in and save, and that's all there is to it. Now, if I want to make little subtle tweaks and things like that, I can leave the window open, and I can do that. Maybe I think, I want to like a slightly different color. I'm going to make that lighter blue. I can just make that little adjustment. The code updates immediately, and it's always just copy and paste and save. And there. Now, just like you would expect, I click on that, and that just opens up the edit form for me, just like that. So really simple, easy to use concept. Lots and lots of different options there. There's new things being added all the time to this, so it does kind of get continuously improved and updated. So this is an additional set of tools that you could have in addition to using all of the awesome things with Ultimate Forms and all the form building, email notifications, automation, all those kind of things. So that's a companion tool. Now, what I showed you in the presentation, of course, that's all baked into the Ultimate Forms template, so you get all that. But that's preset in that. Aside from that, do you guys have any other questions about the dashboard templates and tools? The thing that's most important for you to do on this is just to sign up for free, because that's going to show you how it works. If you go through here, you can see the ones that are free because they have a little green pill next to them. A lot of the button ones are. So the edit button I just showed you, that's free. All you have to do is just go to the sign up form and just give your name and email. And if you punch that in, you'll get a free login, and you can start using those right away. Do you guys have any questions or comments about those tools? One thing I want to emphasize about this, in terms of the licensing model, that's really nice. You only need a license to create those columns or different view templates that are there. You will not have to purchase licenses or get any of that for any users who view the dashboards. That's a significant difference compared to Power BI, where you do have to pay for Power BI licenses for each user who is just viewing those. All right, so if you have any questions, just post them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer those for you. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I will keep the session open for anybody who has questions.